Wonderful to see you all here. This is an amazing opportunity to have a dialogue with two former spy masters, ours and theirs, as the saying goes. We have A.S. Dulat and General Asad Durrani. They're basically born 7-8 months apart in undivided India. They went on to become heads of their own country's national intelligence organizations. And some of you may know they actually wrote a book together called Spy Chronicles, RNAW and ISI, The Illusion of Peace, which of course I think got Durani Sahab into more trouble in his country than Dulat Sahab got into trouble in ours, because he was not allowed to leave Pakistan, etc., and was prosecuted. But anyway, they're both together here now to talk to us. And I think I want to ask them both the same question to begin the conversation. And that is, you know, the subtitle of the show is Locked in a Deadly Embrace or something. And my question is, the narrative from the Indian side over the last quarter of a century at least, and you could go right back to 1989, 1990, when the phenomenon of terrorism started hitting us. The narrative from the India side is, we are the country that sees the merit in having peace with Pakistan. We are focused on our development, on our growth. We don't want to waste our attention, our resources on an unproductive and futile conflict with those guys. Therefore, as far as we are concerned, we want peace. But every time we sincerely make an effort for peace, we find on the other side either a partner unready for peace or unwilling and unable to prevent those who want to thwart peace. So example after example, we all know the stories. Vajpayee Sahab goes to Lahore in 1999, makes that conciliatory speech from the Lahore minaret. What happens? Kargil follows within a few months. You have the extraordinary years of peace initiative after 2611. The Pakistan foreign minister is in Delhi to sign a liberalized visa agreement, and 2611 happens in Mumbai. 166 Indians and foreigners killed. Modi goes to Nawaz Sharif's birthday and granddaughter's wedding, much bonhomie, exchange of gifts and so on. What happens within 3 weeks? An attack on India's airbase in Pathankot. Every single peace initiative from India, as the Indians see it, has been betrayed, undermined, or destroyed by willful terrorist action from Pakistan, which the government or the authorities they're talking to from India, from Delhi, prove unable or unwilling to prevent. So they say, what's the point talking peace with Pakistan? Dulat Sahab, what is your answer? Can we ever move away from this logic? Is peace even a prospect?
Absolutely. We must never give up on peace. It's something that should be natural to our two countries. We were one once upon a time. And I can tell you, being a Punjabi and a Sikh, that if you go to the Punjab, there is a very strong feeling that we should, open up with Pakistan and have better relations with Pakistan. So it's not as if nobody wants peace with Pakistan. And even if we go to Kashmir, I'm not a Pakistan expert, let me state that at the outset. But over the years, I've developed friendships with Pakistanis, and General Durani is a very special case. That's how we two mad guys wrote a book together. It has never happened, and I can assure you it will not happen in the next 1,000 years.
But you have not responded to my summary of the narrative as we see it. How would you dispel if you were advising an Indian Prime Minister today who believes exactly what I have told you? How would you tell him why it's worthwhile to talk to Pakistan?
I would advise the Prime Minister in the same way that I had advised a Prime Minister that I had the privilege to serve with for 5.5 years, which was Prime Minister Vajpayee. 2 years in the RNAW and 3.5 in his PMO. And he himself believed, I didn't have to tell him anything because I couldn't, he was too big. But he himself believed that this permanent confrontation with Pakistan had to end. And he did his very best. As you know, he took that bus to Lahore. Kargil happened. And despite Kargil, We invited the general to Agra. Unfortunately, the summit failed.
Yep.
And I can tell you that Vajpayee came back very disappointed from Agra because he was hoping that something would come about in Agra. But unfortunately, it didn't happen. And because of that, we wasted 3 years. And then what does Vajpayee do? He goes to Srinagar. The last time that I can think of a prime minister going to Srinagar and making a political speech, this was April 2003. He goes to Srinagar and he tells the Kashmiris there in a public meeting that I have stretched out my hand for friendship twice with Pakistan, and twice Pakistan has let me down. But I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it one third time. And he did it. He went for the SAARC summit in January 2004. He went to Islamabad. And that was a very successful visit.
Yeah.
And but unfortunately, Vajpayee came back and lost the election, and that was the end of Vajpayee. But the story
Manmohan Singh
doesn't
continued the story.
That's what I'm saying. Dr. Manmohan Singh was even more committed to peace with Pakistan.
That's right.
And he tried his best. But somehow the best was not good enough.
No,
if you ask me...
It was good enough from our side. It wasn't.
No, it was not good enough from our side. Let me say this, that there was a huge window of opportunity in 2007. And I think we missed out on that. Because Musharraf, and let me say this very clearly, that no other Pakistani leader was as reasonable as Musharraf was, despite Kargil or in spite of Kargil. He said not once but repeatedly that whatever was acceptable to Kashmir and Kashmiris would be acceptable to Pakistan. Now, this is a big thing for a Pakistani leader, or prime minister, or president to say. And he said this. And he was waiting for Dr. Manmohan Singh. I can tell you that what we call the Hurriyat, the separatist leaders, their last visit to Pakistan was in February 2007. And when they came back from Pakistan, the message they came with was that Musharraf wants peace. He's ready for peace. And not only the separatists, I remember Umar Abdullah making 2 visits to Pakistan. And he came back and especially had lunch with me and said, I don't know what we are waiting for because Musharraf is very keen on peace. I said, you should go and tell the Prime Minister. He said, I've told the Prime Minister. And every time I met the Prime Minister, I got the same impression that Dr. Manmohan Singh was very keen.
He was.
He was. And as you know, while demitting office, he said it was almost done. And let me just add to that, you know, his envoy to Pakistan, Sati Lamba, wrote a book.
Yeah.
And at the launch of that book, which was released posthumously, there were about half a dozen diplomats who had served in Pakistan. And without exception, all of them said, we need to engage with Pakistan. So there is the answer.
Okay, so that was my view as well, but I'm not sure that I can persuade anybody else. Let me turn to General Durani. He's been listening patiently to us from Pakistan. Durani Sahab, could you please react to the same narrative that I began this conversation with? In other words, what would you as a Pakistani say to a skeptical Indian leader who says, how can I talk peace with Pakistan when you are unable or unwilling to control the terrorists who can destroy that peace? What would your answer be, sir?
I will not react to this question. I will not suggest anyone come up with a narrative so that I can present a counter narrative because that never perishes. But what I can actually agree with is, it's not easy within the 2 countries to make peace. And that is where Mr. Dulat has already set the stage correctly. And in the book, if my assessment was, there is a good reason why it doesn't happen, because changing the status quo requires a huge amount of price. It costs. Peace has a cost. Compromises have to be made. And if one side or the other or both are comfortable with the status quo, they think they can manage it, they can, handle an odd episode here and there, they will not pay that price because that price is often greater That's the price of conflict. Haven't we seen that for the last about 7 decades? Every time something happens, we can manage it. We can fight, we can cover. But on the whole, if someone were to say, but these are the conditions for peace, now let me ask actually you and the audience, is there anyone in India who is prepared to make that type of a compromise that will bring about the peace?
Yes, sir. So the question is exactly what you said is what Narendra Modi was prepared to do in December 2015, January, February 2016. You may remember, he had a kind of Nixon in China moment where the most hawkish party that was against Manmohan Singh going to Pakistan, when the prime minister of that party went to Pakistan. But what happened? You rewarded him with an attack on an Indian airbase, and he still followed it by calling Nawaz Sharif and saying, why don't you join the investigation, which is exactly what you're implying. Why don't we deal with the problem together? So in other words, his assumption was, since he could not believe that Nawaz Sharif would have connived in this attack, he said, surely Nawaz is on my side in solving this problem. Let's work together to figure out who did this and act against them. That is the way we would solve a problem together. Now, if you're telling me, sir, that that is the way forward, tell me, what would you say to Narendra Modi after he has been betrayed when he allowed Pakistani ISI to come into an Indian airbase? And they went back and said in the Pakistani media, oh, the Indians have done it to themselves. Why would any Indian leader trust this method that you're suggesting?
Again, we are drifting in that direction where Mr. Modi will say one thing and I'll talk about Pulwama and all. It is not the way good for. You know, a couple of suggestions that were made were, regardless of your position, find out that common minimum denominator and start from there, build up the big edifice based on that. It may be a little chat here and there, a trading one. Bus was once run and it was doing fine. Find out why it was stopped. And that is where I say the people, especially in case of India, if the price of conflict is more affordable, then we can do it. Small country, bigger stake, not quite satisfied with the status quo. So that type of a price he will not pay. In fact, what Modi has done us a great favor. By upsetting the capital cards, he has moved that level of status quo to another level, which is becoming unmanageable. One can see what happens in Kashmir. And every time these things happen in Kashmir, people on this side may find a reason to rejoice. That actually it is proving time and again that regardless of what India would do, especially with this muscular policy of Modi Sahab, things backfire, movement comes back again. My colleague, my friend, my comrade in arms, Mr. Dulat, has always said, whenever we act like this, Pakistan is back in the game. So that is the reason why we would say it's much better to be back in the game than be outside the game. Except for one thing, that is that we do feel for the people of Kashmir more than I suppose the Indians do. And that is why whenever there is a problem in which they are discomforted, there is a reason for us to get upset and find out, leave aside the solution, at least the management part can proceed so that the people are in a position where they can get on with a particular arrangement, which may be between them and the Kashmiris or on our side it will work. No one has to then after that actually intervene because the people involved are then getting into the act without prejudice to any country's position. If that does not take any headway, then I can also talk about other examples which we made, but that is not going to help. What is absolutely going to help in this matter is that if you think that at this particular moment, there is that small little movement that can set us going, with so much turmoil all over, it might, one day bring about that result that you people are hoping for, Mr. Dulat, and we, of course, are desperate.
Let me ask Dulat Saab to comment on that. I must admit I'm not totally convinced, even though I come from an opposition party that has historically wanted peace and dialogue with Pakistan. I can see, I'm afraid, the merit in those who say, how can we possibly talk to these people when this keeps happening to us? Unless there is a concrete assurance that the authorities in Pakistan, by which you have to be both the civilian and the military, are genuinely decided that terrorism is not a permissible option and they will work with us to prevent terrorism against us. Until there is such an assurance, how can any responsible Indian leader accept that there is a basis, a viable basis for dialogue with Pakistan?
As I explained earlier, Prime Minister Vajpayee and
No, forget Prime Minister Vajpayee. Tell me about Prime Minister Modi today.
Yeah,
we've got all these intervening years of history.
Yeah, the problem today is politics. That is why we can't move forward with Pakistan. Let me put it bluntly.
No, but the problem has got all these intervening incidents
but let me come
since Vajpayee's time.
Let me come to Kashmir, because I know Kashmir a little better than Pakistan.
Okay.
I've been watching it for 40 years. Now we did away with Article 370. There was the abrogation, and that happened in 2019. So it's almost 7 years now. And we keep saying that Kashmir is normal. There's normalcy in Kashmir. But what kind of normalcy do you have in Kashmir when every 100 yards in Srinagar you need a policeman?
But why is that possible? Why is that necessary? Because you
Because of I agree, it's because of Pakistan. But the point is, why don't we consider and listen to what the Kashmiri leaders have to say? Dr. Farooq Abdullah, by far the tallest leader in Kashmir, has said emphatically over and over again that terror will not go away unless we engage with Pakistan. So the point is, what we have been saying, and you are right, sir, that terror and talks can't go together. So let us talk about terror. What is the problem in talking about terror or engaging on terror? Or what is the problem in just talking to your neighbor? We don't talk. There's no conversation taking place today.
Dulat Saab, I have even written an op-ed in the Indian Express.
I saw that.
Saying we should
that's
talk.
what's encouraging me now.
I believe that not talking is not a policy, but I can understand why we're not talking. What I am looking for...
We are not talking, sir, because of politics.
Yeah, but I'm looking for something from the Pakistani side, and I'm not getting it yet from General Durani, something that will encourage me to talk. In other words, General Durani Sahab, you've heard what General Dulat has said. There are people in India who want to talk, but what can you give us to make us feel that we can reconcile, we can change our mind about not talking? Can you give us some public assurance that Pakistan is against terrorism against India? We have a perception that Pakistan is only hostile to terrorism when it is attacking Pakistan. But when terrorism attacks India or Afghanistan, Pakistan is cool with it, that Pakistanis are often sponsoring it, financing it, encouraging it. Now, you need to give us something. You've got, for example, mountains of evidence against the people who planned 26/11/2008. Not one person has been convicted or punished of anything in Pakistan. Not one headquarters of Jaish-e-Mohammed or Lashkar-e-Taiba has been legally shut down, proscribed, their leaders arrested. Can you show us some tangible indication that convinces me as an Indian that I should talk to Pakistan? General
Again, wrong place, the wrong step to take. Once one is sincere about talking, there are so many ways on the back channel, on the secret channels that keep the dialogue going. These arguments of one has to make, then of course you will find a counter argument, but every time on everything. If you think tons of evidence, I can produce a very thick book written by a German, a Jew to Jew. It's such a thick book that it will hurt you if it falls on your book. And it is all about Bombay. It's all about deficiencies in the case. It's all about actually what people in technical terms call the false dialogue. Satyamar Malik came up and said he was telling people that this is happening, and they said, let it run. Hum Pakistan ko blame kar denge. Come on. This is not the way to go about these things. If you're going to talk about, one story or the other and not get on with that particular point, that both of us recommended in the book, Kashmir instead of a point of conflict can become a bridge between the two countries if you use little bit of sense, not talk about conditions, not about what the others would say. That will come in the meantime. Something quid pro quo would take place, and one will come to a particular point. One would say, well, it seems that right now, at least the Kashmiris can live with it, and the Pakistanis and the Indians will also come galloping up. Now, this is the way to go make peace, not by, asking the others, now, aapne kya kar lenge, aapne kya karna hai, kuch bhi nahi karna. We will find out at the end. Ultimately, once the peace takes place, both of them would have to give up some of it. Otherwise, there would be none.
Fair enough. All right. So we have to give up something. They also have to give up something. One of the questions that comes to mind is, at bottom, India is a status quo power. We are happy more or less with the way things are, though we claim officially POK. At bottom, the perception is no one in India is going to stir to do anything about it, provided we are left alone on our side of the LOC. Pakistan, on the other hand, is not a status quo power. It's a revisionist power. It wants something it doesn't have. It wants control of the Kashmir Valley. Now, the question is, when the two starting positions are so fundamentally irreconcilable, what do we talk about, Dulat Sahab?
No. There's no question of Pakistan taking over the valley or wanting the valley. I think that's a dream that's long been lost. You can ask General Saab that. And I can take you back to 2001 when 9/11 happened. And Bush read the Riot Act to Musharraf, that either you're with us or you're against us, kind of thing. If you're not joining the war against terror, then you're not with us. And the Kashmiri reaction was that if these guys can't look after themselves, how the hell are they going to look after us? They're good for nothing. So Kashmir has gone out, Pakistan has gone out of the Kashmiri mind.
Yeah.
But we keep bringing it back because we do nothing in Kashmir. We don't want to. Now I give you another example. 2019 happened. The abrogation happened. I was at a Lit Fest in Chandigarh, what they used to call the military
Lit Fest. I was invited there. I couldn't.
And there was Ram Madhav sitting next to me.
Ji.
And Ram Madhav said, don't worry, we've given an assurance. Statehood will be returned shortly. Now it's 7 years. And poor Omar Abdullah keeps crying and keeps coming to Delhi. I think he's given up hope now. He realizes what Delhi is all about, that he's not going to get statehood.
No,
the Kashmiri realizes he won't get statehood. That's the reality, I'm telling you.
No, that will change. I think for whatever reason, the government is holding on to that as a lollipop to be given later. But I spoke in Parliament on that occasion, and I took very much the stand that this should not be denied. But let me just move back to General Durani for a minute and ask him the same question I just asked General Dulat. Do you feel that in terms of what Pakistan wants out of this, that there could be a viable starting point short of a change in the territorial arrangements? Do you think that Pakistan would be prepared to give up its fantasy that the present line of control is not the de facto or the de jure, beg your pardon, final line, and that Pakistan still has hopes of a border readjustment? Because if there is that in the back of Pakistan's mind, no one in India would be prepared to talk seriously, and that's something you have to understand. General Durani, sir.
Again, putting the preconditions first and then it's talking about starting. That will not happen. No one here in the right frame of mind will say, well, here it is, we forego this match, let's see if we can talk. You can talk by talking about cricket or weather or whatever else. Don't put any precondition. They will come as the dialogue proceeds. But that is where we made both of us admit. Another very important point in that book, that some people are so strictly status quo, not only status quo, strictly status quo, that even if the situation was to improve between the two countries, like it was happening when the bus started, they'll get upset, they get worried. Said, good Lord, Kashmir is getting more breathing space. Pakistan, throwing its weight about, finding a little more relaxed. Now, we must nip this evil in the bud. That type of a thing happens. It's practical. You belong to South Bloc, ask the South Blocs how they think about it. And then you'll find out how difficult it is to actually start a thing right from a premeditated position. It will come. It may happen. It may surprise both of us because things turn out to be much better than we expected. Or as gradually, probably people will find that this is the way to go. 70 years, a couple of things have been tried. It didn't happen. Try that. Without those things, try it for another 7 years. You might find there is a difference. Otherwise, you can always go back. What's the big deal?
Quite right. Quite right. So let me just phrase this slightly differently. You are aware, sir, because your own former Foreign Minister Kasuri published a very detailed account of it. And as General Dulat said, our own Special Envoy, Mr. Lamba, published an account of it, that the two governments came very close in 2007-8 to an agreement on the way forward. Do you think that those proposals agreed in the back channel between the two governments, so between Dr. Manmohan Singh's Special Envoy and General Musharraf's Special Envoy, which then became unviable when General Musharraf's political position became untenable in Pakistan in 2008? Do you think that those elements could be the basis for starting a new conversation, or are those completely unrealistic and out of date today, 18 years later?
Well, the 4 points were quite reasonable. The Kashmiris on the other side actually were hoping that something will come out of it. The way of presenting was not very good. It should not have come from Pakistan. Then the other side would think that there may be something more in it when we read it. But talking about, those 4 points and the result they were so important, if we were so close to a particular breakthrough, then they would not have ended just because Musharraf left. Not Musharraf only. It was about Kashmir, it was about the two countries. One would have picked up the thread from there and says, okay, we do not know what they agreed for, but now we can carry out a little more transparent process. We'll find out what will happen. It did not happen. People did not even respond to those things. Right? Although the points were, I think my comrade in arms, Mr. Dulat, is a bigger fan of those 4 points. I can find 1 or 2, but I still would say at least that was something on the table, and 1 or 2 points could have been proceeded upon, but they did not.
But why didn't they, sir? Because of 2611. 2611 happened in 2008. I think, again, there is a little unwillingness to see. There was definite willingness on Dr. Manmohan Singh's part to proceed even in the post-Musharraf era, and the body language coming out of the Zardari government was very positive. But then 2611 happened, and clearly very many elements of the Pakistani establishment would have had to participate in what happened there.
Since you would not give up, then I suppose you are forcing me to talk about certain things that happened before that, after that.
Please, talk about it.
I will once again resist it and say, please do not provoke that, because even when Nawaz went for the coronation of Modi the first time, he went there against, he took great risk, and he was attacked by your foreign secretary. Now, these things can be talked about, and then you will find out that Modi's landing to attend the granddaughter's marriage was not out of any goodness of heart. He'd badmouthed Pakistan in Dhaka and Kabul, and now he was there just to show, regardless of I do, these people will refuse it. That is why I said these are not the arguments to start with. If you think that it has not worked, find out something else, and maybe you can have some hope. As far as the timings are concerned, timings are very important, and that is where one says people keen to keep the status quo will scuttle these efforts just at that time when it was
as far as timing is concerned, I wrote in a book many, many decades ago that the problem with India and Pakistan is they shout cease and fire at different times. But anyway, Dulat Sahab, how would you react to this same question of whether the Kasuri Lamba revelations constitute a viable basis for dialogue, or whether they are now overtaken by events?
Definitely, there were a basis for dialogue and taking things forward. But now I don't think anybody is willing to talk about Musharraf's four-point formula or whatever it was. Basically, there is only one point and there is only one way that there can be a settlement. You know, if you talk to the Kashmiris, he says, I want a full and final settlement to Kashmir. There is no full and final settlement, let me tell you. It will never happen. But there is a way to settle, and that settlement is on the line of control. All you need is 1 point. You don't need 4 points. You settle on the line of control, you'll have peace for the next 15 years. And this is what Farooq Abdullah has been saying.
If we're willing to do that, are the Pakistanis willing to do that and surrender their public claims?
Well, when Musharraf said 4 points, this is what it meant. This was the crux of the whole thing. The rest was only cosmetic, you know.
But the cosmetics were important.
They were important.
Joint,
they could have happened, coming and going and trade. And,
joint institutions.
Yeah, that's okay. That was easy. But the basic thing is, we can only settle on the line of control. And it can happen, it should happen.
Right, sir. Okay, let's not go into these existential issues on which you and I and General Durani cannot solve it right now. Let me turn a slightly different subject. The two of you wrote a book together. And it raises a very good question, which is, do you think that you spies understand each other better than we politicians do, and that certainly generals do across the borders? Are you perhaps in a better position to resolve our misunderstandings than the politicians are?
That's a beautiful question. It's a great question that I would love to answer. Because, you mentioned 26/11. And a lot of things happened after 26/11. There was a lot of apprehension in the West that these two nuclear-mad countries might go to war and things like that. And that's when the Track 2 started, initiated mostly by the United States and Britain. And to begin with, all and sundry, everybody was invited, and I attended some of those Track 2 meetings. And then the military people said we should have an exclusive Track 2. So there was a military Track 2 between India and Pakistan. And then my friend General Durani suggested that if there can be a military Track 2, then why not an intelligence Track 2?
Uh-huh.
And the intelligence Track 2 actually brought out the most honest and truthful results. Now, I'm not saying that spooks can solve everything. Spooks are there only to advise at best. The settlements have to be made by people like you, sir, by politicians. But I can make a suggestion to you now, having read your op-ed, this thing in the Express, that if you are prepared to go to Pakistan, I'm willing to accompany you. And let's go and check it out there.
Let's go and check it out. I think we'll have to ask Mr. Modi first whether he'd like that or not. Durani Sahab, would you like to answer the same semi-irreverent question? Are you spies and intelligence officers better equipped to take understanding forward than perhaps we politicians are, or than generals are in the army?
And I'd like to answer this question, but let me also, talk about a later thing first. Someone from RAW is scuttling, sabotaging our present dialogue. And they keep disturbing me by their messages, by interfering with my voice. I hope you are listening me loud and clear.
Yes, sir.
Then ignore them. I'm being distracted by your own organizations, people who work in. But as far as the trust is concerned, the reason is simple. Why people in the spy business or intelligence business, why is it something called spy business? Become more honest and become more trusting, because they cannot afford to tell lies. They were to lie, then of course, the next operation, or that is the CN on the own side, may cause more damage than otherwise it is done. Examples, how the CIA always, comes up with W in written process. They have to put themselves in the shoes of the other people, and that is why develop some sort of an apathy collaterals in the terms that you use in diplomat. And that is why they like to talk about certain things. They know the other people know what the situation is. There's no point lying to them. You could lie to the politician, you could lie to the public, but not to the intelligence man.
That's
The
an
intelligence
interesting.
man has already told him, well, this is what the Indians think about you, this is what they're going to say. So why don't we come out clean? That's the reason.
Thank you. That's a good way of looking at it. Acha, Dulat Sahab, one question that comes to mind is, obviously in this age of technology, technology must have come into intelligence gathering, surveillance, interception, all of that very much more than in the days when you were heading RNAW, but I'm sure you're up to speed with all that's going on. So assuming that both sides are doing a lot of technological snooping on each other, what about human intelligence? Is there still, are there Pakistani spies in our midst? Are there our spies in their midst? Can you tell us what you think?
Oh, sure there are.
Yep.
Definitely there are. And they get caught every now and then. There is a...
But it doesn't hit the
There
headlines.
is a Kulbhushan Yadav who's been in Pakistan for so many years now. And I remember Kasuri Saab visiting Delhi, I think must be about 10 years ago. And Kasuri Saab said to me, isn't there somewhere that we could start talking and talking sense with each other? I said, go back and release this fellow, Kulbhushan Yadav. What is he there for? He's been there long enough.
Well, they've sentenced him to death, as you know.
Yeah. So coming back to my suggestion that why don't we go to Pakistan? You're the politician. You have to get Modi's permission. And
Acha, I'm changing the subject, Dulat Sahab. How do you see the Doval doctrine? And is it different from what has gone on before in terms of the overall intelligence approach to Pakistan?
well, I can tell you what the great M.K. Narayanan has said about this. And, he was our big boss.
Indeed.
And, of course, Ajit was his greater favorite. I was just a hanger-on. But he used to say that if I want to offer a carrot, then I'll send Dulat to Srinagar. And if I want to use the stick, then it'll be Ajit Doval.
There you are.
But coming back to what
But you're both two sides of the same coin.
Same coin, yeah. And we've both been good friends. We work together. We think differently, but that's all right. That happens. It happens everywhere all the time. But let me remind you that I was mentioning this Spooks dialogue that started. Ajit was a part of that Spooks dialogue.
Oh, was she?
Yeah, for 2 or 3 years, till 2014 came about. And I knew that he was in for bigger things and he would quit. And he left. Rightfully so, because he had to become NSA. But coming back to the doctrines, as you call them, General Saab mentioned Satpal Malik. When I met Satpal Malik, I went up to him and to introduce myself, and I said, I'm so-and-so. He said, Dulat Saab, you're well known. Your doctrine is well known in Srinagar.
General Durani, what is your perception, sitting where you are, of India's security and intelligence approach and doctrine, as it were, towards Pakistan?
The things look so bad that it will be the right time to start. That's one way to look at it. But if we are not likely to get any worse, like the turning point did come last year.
What about the Malik on your side? Not our Malik, but yours, General Asim Malik.
Oh, the other side also, but did not hide that particular thing. One knows that is the least that one can say or reveal to you is that here people know what people on the other side have said. And after that, the decision seems to be, the whole thing is not working. And it has reached that stage where either we keep another status quo at another level or try to think of something else. Out of box, Gen 1, start with, etc., etc. But that being the conclusion, especially on your side, I think the time is right to restart something, but in a different manner.
General Saab, is there a constituency for peace in Pakistan, or has it shrunk in the last decade or so?
It's shrinking, no doubt about that. But people are not waiting forever. Like in your case, I am told that first of all, there were people who were very enthusiastic, and now a couple of people, a couple of names you can count them on one hand finger.
Ji.
They still be there. But here again, they were shrinking, and after last year's episode, they've shrunk even more. To get their interest back may be more difficult. To sort it out.
Dulat Sahab, how would you answer that question about us? Is our constituency for peace shrinking in India?
Oh, there's hardly a constituency left now.
That's right.
Where is the constituency? It's all politics, you know. That's why I keep repeating politics. Unless you put politics aside, I don't think there's any scope for diplomacy anywhere. And I think we need to look at that, not only Pakistan. I think we're having problems with Bangladesh now after Sheikh Hasina left. And I think the whole neighborhood needs to be looked at.
Would you be in favor of resuming non-political, non-governmental contact with the two countries? For example, resuming cricket, resuming visas for Pakistani singers, actors, musicians. I mean, this is one possible way of creating a constituency for peace.
I'm all for it. Visas is the easier way. I mean, it's been long overdue. We should get high commissioners back, open up a bit. Cricket is more difficult. I mean, what is the point of playing cricket if you can't shake hands with each other?
So if we're playing, we should shake hands.
Yeah, so I think we shouldn't play cricket at all. It's better not to play than not to shake hands. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's not cricket.
Exactly. Well, on that too, I have written in articles. I'm afraid I've nailed my colors to the mast.
Let me remind you, sir, that it's the Brits who taught everybody cricket. And in Britain, in England, till 1963, there used to be a distinction.
Gentlemen and players.
Gentlemen and players. And it was the time of Ted Dexter,
right,
who was a gentleman, who agreed that they could do away with that distinction and call them all cricketers. But very soon, I don't think we'll have cricketers left.
Oh, I think you're being too much of a pessimist. General Durani, sir, in Pakistan, would you say there would be any support for a resumption of, shall we say, non-political, non-governmental contacts between the two peoples, easier visas, easier travel, sporting exchanges, cultural exchanges, artists, musicians? Is there any support for that kind of thing on your side of the border? Or would it be a suicide for any politician to suggest that?
Depends on whom you send. Now I'm just thinking of a particular book that India decides to feed, to talk to Pakistan. It consists of Vishwanath, Kapil Kak, Mani Shankar, and so forth. I mean, such people, if they say that they are coming, they may come by any means. They'll find people here lined up to receive them. So find out the right type of people. So that's actually a very old Afghan concept. Not only Jirgas and so on. Jirgas may accomplish something, but if there are people who have credibility on both sides, if they go and knock at their doors, half the battle is already won. Because it cannot be said go. It cannot be said go get lost.
Sir, but you know from the Nixon in China moment that it is precisely the hardliners who have most credibility as peaceniks. If people have been peaceniks when it's not fashionable to be peaceniks, and they go, who will listen to them when they come back? That is the question, sir.
So send Duval. And Duval, if you want that type of a breakthrough, send him. We'll find out what happens to him through the process. But as far as that principle is concerned, yes, a political hardliner may find making concessions easier. But that again is, neither here nor there. He will not do that. People who have, for a period of time, tried peace, are all people who had peace at heart. ISI, Chandrasekhar,
Okay, sir.
And, a couple of others who were, I forget.
Okay, well, we have just 1 minute left. Let me ask you to give us a final sort of 2-sentence message to the Indian people at the end of this conversation. What would you like to leave us with? We just have 1 minute left in the time. Please, General Durani. And then I'll turn to you, Dulat Sahab, for your 1 sentence back.
I don't have to give a message to the people who already know the problem is, they know that in this equation, the initiative or the onus of trying a breakthrough is of their government. And their government, since is not going to do that, so their first guns have to be turned towards them and says, stop. Now, that is the message. You can tell your people, force your government to move, there will be enough responsibility.
Thank you, General Durani. General Dulat, no, Mr. Dulat, my good friend, do tell me, what would you want to end this conversation with if you were conveying a message to your good friend, General Durani, from here?
Let me end with a quote from my favorite poet, Aga Shahid Ali, the renowned Kashmiri American
And
poet.
an old friend of mine from our university days. Passed away, sadly.
Yeah, it's sad. He says in a short poem, it's just been, his latest book of selected poems is just out, called The Last Speaker. And there's a short poem there called Farewell, in which he says, if only somehow you could be mine, what is it that would not be possible in this world? Now, this he wrote in the context of the exodus of the Kashmiri Pandits from the valley in 1990. But General Saab will remember that we use this as an epigraph in our own book. And that's how the book starts. I think General Saab has disappeared. But the whole idea of this book that we wrote was to somehow promote peace between the two countries, to make people think that peace is possible. And that's where I would end. And I think peace is possible. I agree with you entirely that I'm not the best guy to go to Pakistan because, you know, I'm regarded as too much of a peacenik. My doctrine won't help. I think, and there is a story to it. I don't know why General Saab is not there. He's aware.
No, he's there. He's there.
Okay, he's here, but he's
still
not
there.
there. Okay, General Saab will remember this story. Once in one of our sessions, the Pakistanis complained that nothing was happening, nothing was moving forward. And it was just when Ajit had just left us. So I said, there is a way forward. And I said, you should invite Ajit Doval to Lahore. And they said, well, that's not a bad idea, but what if he doesn't come? So I said, there's a batchmate of his here, present here. KM Singh was there. And I said, KM can check up. And KM checked up. And Ajit was willing at that time to go to Lahore.
Which year was this?
It would be 2014.
Before or after the election? No, it's a serious question.
I don't remember that. But he was very keen, maybe 2015. Okay. So it would be after the election. But he was a big dad then. And he was ready to go to Lahore. And we conveyed the message. And I know General Ahsan from their side said, great, this should be no problem. But it didn't happen. So Pakistan backtracked, I would say. Not that, I mean, it had to be decided at a higher level, but Ajit was not invited to Lahore.
No, it is one of the tragedies that there's always one side willing to make peace when the other side is not, and vice versa. I'm afraid we'll have to leave it there. Our time is up. Thank you very much, General Asad Durrani. Thank you very much, Mr. Dulat. And thank you all for listening so patiently.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tharoor. Thank you. Always a pleasure, sir.
Always a pleasure. Thank you very much.